Top 10 Reasons Not to Live in Germany. The YouTuber World According to Briggs has uploaded a video with exactly that title, so I'd say let's watch together and I'll let you know what I think about it as a German, which of the mentioned points are true and which ones are simply wrong. Hallo, Servus, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Felicia, and I'm a German who has been living off and on in Cincinnati, Ohio since 2016. Top 10 Reasons Not to Live in Germany. That's the title of a video that was uploaded just last week on a YouTube channel called World According to Briggs. So, of course, I had to watch it and see if I agree with those 10 reasons. Because as I've mentioned in my personal Q&A video 2 weeks ago, there definitely are things that I don't like about Germany, but then again, none of those things are the reason that I don't live there right now. For those of you who don't know this, I'm from Munich, which is in Bavaria, so the south of Germany. I was born and raised there, and I also went to college there, so I didn't leave Germany until I was 22. Initially, I only came to the US for an exchange semester, but then I ended up coming back, and now I'm here as a permanent resident. But I'm not in the US because Germany is an awful place to live in. It absolutely isn't. I'm here because I personally wanted some change and because I love the American culture. But who knows, maybe this person really did find 10 reasons that I can agree with why moving to Germany isn't the best idea. Let's just watch the video together and I'll share my thoughts with you. Okay, so you can't really see that, but I have my laptop right here. So I'm gonna be watching it down here and I'll put it for you right here. Okay, before I hit play, let's start with the thumbnail. I don't know what this woman is wearing, but it's definitely not traditional German clothing. I think the pants are supposed to look like Lederhosen like we say, but they're definitely not. Looks more like a Halloween costume to me, but okay, thumbnails aren't always about accuracy.
What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to the World According to Briggs. I hope you're all being safe and healthy. Remember, we're all in this together. Take care of yourself and each other. Now let's get back to roasting places. This is an international video. Today we are looking at Deutschland. Germany. Germany is probably one of the top 10 most historic countries on the planet. They have a lot of history, both good and a whole bunch of bad. The good news is they've put most of that bad about 70 years in the rearview mirror. Germany is now an economic power with a great Oktoberfest. The people...
Okay, I hate it when someone says we have a great Oktoberfest. We have the Oktoberfest. Oktoberfest is not a franchise. The Oktoberfest takes place in Munich, but oh well.
People are wonderfully welcoming, and it's a great place to visit. But like every location on this planet, it has some problems. And that's what we're looking at today. Things you might need to know before you visit Germany. Some of these things might make you not want to visit them. Some of them you just probably want to be aware of. So let's get started. Number 10. High crime. Germany has seen a rise in crime in the last 5 years. The country has an open door policy, which means anyone can wander into the country whenever they want. And they've learned this leads to more crime. When you can't track people down, they tend to do stupid stuff. The crime rate in Germany for 2018 was 6,710 crimes for every 100,000 residents. That's up from 4,200 per every 100,000 residents in 2014. And when the 2020 numbers come out, they're looking to be higher. There was a sharp increase in the number of murders committed in Germany, with 901 murders recorded in 2018. That's the highest since 2000, when there was 930. Berlin, Hamburg, and Bremen had the highest regional crime rates in the whole country. Ask any German like I did, and they will tell you it all changed in 2015. About the same time, hundreds of thousands of refugees began entering the country from war-torn Syria and other places like that. The number of murders increased by 14.6%, and the unauthorized use of another person's body rose by 8%. You know what that is? I can't say it because I don't want to get demonetized.
Okay, let's stop right here because this was already a whole lot of information, and I have a lot to say about this because a lot of these things are just flat out wrong. So let's back up and go over it together. I'm going to mention some numbers, and just to give you guys an idea of what ballpark we're in, Germany is generally considered a very safe country compared to other countries in the world. An indicator for this is often the murder rate, and in 2018 there were 1.1 murders per 100,000 residents in Germany, while there were 5 per 100,000 residents in the US, so almost 5 times as many as in Germany.
Number 10. High crime. Germany has seen a rise in crime in the last 5 years.
Okay, that's not true. Since he's talking about the statistics from 2018, 5 years would mean that there was a rise in crime since 2013, and that's not the case, as you can see here. To be fair, the crime rate did go up a little bit after 2013, so in 14, 15, and 16 it was rising, but then right in 2017 it went below the numbers from 2013 and has been decreasing ever since.
The country has an open door policy, which means anyone can wander into the country whenever they want. And they've learned this leads to more crime.
Okay, Germany does not have an open door policy in that sense that people can literally just walk into our country and stay if they want to. We have taken in a lot of refugees, especially in 2015, which I'm assuming that's what Brix is referring to here, but those people had refugee status. It's not like anyone can just come to Germany and stay there forever if they want to. It's definitely easier to immigrate to Germany legally than immigrating to the US, but it's not like there aren't any rules.
When you can't track people down, they tend to do stupid stuff. The crime rate in Germany...
You can track people down in Germany, actually. Other than in the US, where there's a census every 10 years, where people voluntarily submit information about where they live and other personal information, residents in Germany actually have to be registered at the Einwohnermeldeamt, the registration office. If you move to a new place, even if it's within the same city, you have to go there and register your new address by law, and refugees too are registered there with an address.
The crime rate in Germany for 2018 was 6,710 crimes per every 100,000 residents. That's up from 4,200 per every 100,000 residents in 2014.
Okay, that's just a wrong number. The first one is correct. There were 6,710 crimes per 100,000 residents in 2018, but then he's saying that it went up from 2014, which is the year before the refugee crisis, and that's wrong. He says that there were 4,200 crimes per 100,000 residents in 2014, but it was actually 7,530, so it actually went down compared to 2014. Not sure where he got that wrong number from, 4,200, because I couldn't find that anywhere.
And when the 2020 numbers come out, they're looking to be higher.
That's wrong again. The crime statistics for 2019 were actually just released this week, so after he published the video, but still the trend had shown that crime rates have been going down in Germany for years. And as expected, in 2019, Germany had 5.43 million crimes in total, which means the number decreased by 2.1% compared to 2018 and is the lowest number since 1992.
There was a sharp increase in the number of murders committed in Germany, with 901 murders recorded in 2018. That's the highest since 2000, when there was 930.
Okay, sharp increase, I'm not sure if I would say it like that. First, the numbers that he mentioned are the numbers of attempted murders and not the number of people who were actually killed. I'm obviously not an expert in this field, but I just feel like that the number of attempted murders could vary a little bit from year to year, just depending on how cases are treated in court, whereas the number of people who were actually killed is definitely not open for interpretation from year to year. And that number did indeed go up in 2016 and 17, but it was still much lower than in the early 2000s, and for 2019 it's actually the lowest in a very long time, with 245 people killed in total.
Berlin, Hamburg, and Bremen had the highest regional crime rates in the whole country. Ask any German like I did, and they will tell you it all changed in 2015. About the same time, hundreds of thousands of refugees began entering the country from war-torn Syria and other places like that. The number of...
Okay, well, as I just showed you, the crime rate did go up a little bit after 2015, that's true. But from my personal experience, what I actually observed on the streets, in society, I didn't actually see any more crime personally. But what I did observe was that the way that crimes that were committed by people who were not German, so like refugees and other people who immigrated to Germany, were reported in the media. That changed a lot. So again, if you look at the numbers, the crime rate did go up a little bit in the years after 2015, but then it went to a new low after that and is now lower than the crime rate before 2015.
The number of murders increased by 14.6%, and the unauthorized use of another person's body rose by 8%. You know what that is? I can't say it because I don't want to get demonetized.
Okay, I'm not sure what numbers he's referring to here because I couldn't find those. But again, murders actually did go up a little bit after 2015, but are now lower than any number listed since the 90s. And what he means by unauthorized use of another person's body has actually been going up continuously for years, starting way before 2015. But this is something that's always stated in those reports, and we also all know this, that more and more cases are being reported nowadays. It doesn't necessarily mean that more things are happening. It's just more things are getting reported, which is good. You know, like the Me Too movement was in 2017. Of course, most of those cases still aren't reported to this day, but it means that these numbers aren't very reliable and also not comparable.
Number 9. Graffiti. A stroll through the streets of Berlin quickly revealed why it's sometimes referred to as the graffiti capital of Europe. When the
I didn't know that actually.
Berlin Wall came down in the early 1990s, graffiti artists and taggers had to find new places to apply their art. Now, keep in mind, most of the time they're not artists, they're a-holes. Just about any building, wall, or surface has become fair game to these clowns. A task force.
Okay, just because any type of building or wall has become fair game doesn't mean that any type of building or wall has graffiti on them.
Spokesman estimated the property damage caused by graffiti in Berlin is about 35 to 50 million euros a year. Berlin's special anti-graffiti task force wasn't even formed until the early 1990s. The task force is underfunded and sort of useless. The German capital averages about 15 arrests a week for graffiti, with fines ranging from 100 euros, about $135 American, to several thousand euros. What they need to do is chain gang these dudes on a graffiti cleanup detail. That'll fix them. Could you imagine being chained to other dudes cleaning up graffiti you put on there a week before? All your friends coming by making fun of you? Yeah, that'll stop it.
Okay, so I did not check those numbers, so I'm sure they're accurate, but I just don't really see why this would be an actual reason not to live in Germany. He also only mentioned Berlin, which is the capital of Germany, but it's not very representative for the rest of the country. I've personally never considered graffitis a major problem in Germany or anything that lowers the quality of life in any way. I mean, yes, especially in bigger cities, they definitely are on certain buildings and bridges and sometimes on trains, and I'm sure they do cause a lot of damage, but I just don't really see that as a major problem in Germany.
Number 8, pay to pee. This one doesn't have anything to do with the red light district, which I'm sure that goes on there. It's just that's not what I'm talking about here.
Okay.
You have to pay to use the public restrooms in most of the cities in Germany. It's about 50 euros, 55 cents American.
Okay, he just said it's about 50 euros, 55 cents American. It's definitely not 50 euros, it's 50 cents.
And to make the wee-wee, as my son used to call it. A couple of coins ensures that the attendants are making the money that they need to make it worth their while to keep these places clean. They're very clean. You have to pay everywhere, from a train station, stores, and even to restaurants. Airports.
Okay, yes, you have to pay at a lot of places, but especially with restaurants and stores, I feel like I hardly ever see that. If anything, I feel like it's at restaurants and stores that are located at a place where they know that a lot of people are going to use their restrooms that aren't actually customers, if that makes sense. But it's not very common at a restaurant. Like if you're eating at the restaurant and you use their restroom, you won't have to pay for it.
Airports are the rare exception to the pay-to-pee rule. If you ever hear someone say WC or water closet in Germany, they're referring to the restroom.
WC is what we call it.
Because it's like the size of a closet and there's water in there, I guess. Or you're making water. Who knows?
Okay, so yes, paying to use the restroom is a thing in Germany, and I know that a lot of people who visit Germany from other places complain about that, but it's not always mandatory, as I just said. So especially at rest stops on highways and sometimes at train stations, this actually is a thing that there's a system in place where you actually have to pay. There's going to be a turnstile, and you have to put in usually 70 cents to go through the turnstile. But then afterwards, you're going to get 50 cents back as a coupon that you can use at any of the connected stores. But those bathrooms are always extremely clean, so that's what you get in return. For regular restrooms though, it's either free or there's going to be a person from the cleaning staff sitting outside the restroom with a little tipping plate, and when you leave, it's common courtesy to give them some of your change. And since Germans still use a lot of cash to this day, people usually do have change on them. In very rare cases, they have a sign sitting there saying how much they're asking for, but in my life, it's never actually been a problem if you don't have enough change on you or if you don't have anything at all. You can still use the restroom, just maybe say you're sorry when you leave.
Number 7. 7. Long-ass words. German, as in the case with most Germanic languages, gets out of control with compound nouns. They combine multiple words into one long word to name or describe something. This is totally weird to English speakers. It's almost like they're doing it to F with us.
Okay, so this is true, but I promise we're not doing it to F with you. The reason why German words can get so long is that when we form a new word out of two existing words, we leave out the space. So while in English you say police car and spell it as two words, we say Polizeiauto in German and spell it as one word.
Swear to God, at 80 letters, the longest word ever composed in German is, and I don't even know how to pronounce it, but I'm going to spell it for you. Buckle up. Donnerstreberfest. Yeah, I'm not even kidding. That's a real word. This means the Association of Subordinate Officials, the head office management of Dunabi Steamboat Electrical Services. Yeah, I'm totally confused at this point too. Mark?
Yeah, me too, and I actually didn't know this word before this, but I know you guys probably want me to say this now, so let me try. Donaudampfschifffahrtselektrizitätenhauptbetriebswerk. Donaudampfschifffahrtselektrizitätenhauptbetriebwerk Bauunternehmer Beamtengesellschaft. Oh my god, I did it! So I didn't know this word before this, but I looked it up and apparently it was actually in the Guinness Book of Records until 1996, but then they cut it because it's not actually a real word. It doesn't have a real meaning. It's just made up.
Mark Twain expressed his views bluntly in an 1880 essay. He said, "The German language is awful." He argued a gifted person could learn English in 30 hours, French in 30 days, and it would take German 30 years.
Okay, German is definitely difficult to learn, but I would not say it takes 30 years to learn it. Definitely a few years and then some pretty big commitment to become fluent. But I do know a lot of Americans, or I don't want to say a lot. I do know Americans who are fluent in German and don't even have an accent, so it is possible.
Number 6. Brutal taxes. Germany's strong public services, employee protection, healthcare services, and being a welfare state come at a cost. Taxes here are some of the highest in the world, with those earning a little over 52,000 euro, which is about 58,000 American, paying about 42% in income tax.
That's
then
true.
you have a social security payment and a 19% rate on value-added tax.
Yeah,
Professionals
Mehrwertsteuer.
should be ready to say goodbye to almost half their paychecks. You may find your mandatory social security contribution costing more than your rent. In addition to this, there's a solidarity surcharge, which is a 5.5% tax to cover the continuing costs of integrating the states of the former East Germany. As many
Der Soli is what that's called.
the other countries, Germany allows a variety of deductions that can lower your total taxable income, but still, it's pretty brutal. In addition to the various forms of income tax, there's also a series of sales tax that significantly impact both individuals and businesses. Now get this. This is a great idea. They actually tax the churches. You know that's a hustle. I mean, it's great if you want to not tax the churches, but far too many churches are taking advantage of this. It's kind of a joke at this point. All in all, there are approximately 30 different types of taxes, including taxes on inheritance and real estate, motor vehicles also. What I'm trying to say is Germany is like my cousin's ex-wife. It gets half your money and has doubled in size since the fall of the Soviet Union.
Okay. Well, it's true that Germany does have really high taxes, so I guess that actually is a valid reason not to live in Germany. But you do also get a lot in return as a resident, like free education, for example, a good and affordable healthcare system, good infrastructure, and so on. And yes, churches are being taxed in Germany, but it's not just the churches, it's also the residents if they're registered as a church member. Remember how in my 5 Things Part 2 video, I mentioned that in Germany, you're never asked for your race on forms? Well, what we do have, though, that isn't a thing in the US, is that you're sometimes asked for your religious denomination on forms. And if you're baptized, you're automatically registered as a member of either the Catholic or the Protestant church in Germany, and you have to pay church taxes. If you don't want to do that, you have to actively leave the church, so like end your membership. But if you want to get married in a church, it's a requirement that at least one of the 2 partners is a church member.
Number 5. Germans love love their cash. Anybody used to carrying a wallet full of plastic should know this. Many shops in Germany only accept payment in cash, and offering a debit card will just get them to shake their head at you and tell you no, or point to one of their, ATM machines where you gotta get the cash and give it to them. And those ATMs, as we all know, have pretty steep fees. This is changing a little bit, but they're well behind US and most other industrial countries. Germans simply find it easier to keep track of their spending when they use cash. A study found that the average German wallet contains about 103 physical euros, about $115, more than three times the figure in France. Cash is still a means of payment in some 80% of the point-of-sale transactions in Germany. What it is Germans, they don't trust a lot. They don't trust a lot of technology, apparently. It's privacy and the rule of state. They're just very against that stuff, so they like to use their cash and keep their transactions to themselves. Of all the purchases made in Germany in 2018, just 20% were made with cards. That's the lowest of any country.
Okay, so first of all, if you're interested in this topic, you should definitely watch my video on money and payment differences, linked in the info box below. It's true that Germans still primarily pay with cash when it comes to everyday purchases like at a store or a restaurant, but it's not true that we don't trust technology. We definitely use cards a lot less, but bigger payments like rent or bills or mortgages and things like that are almost always made via online banking, much more than in the US. Making a big payment with cash would actually seem sketchy to us, and checks are almost non-existent in Germany. It's also not true that you can almost never pay with your card at the store. You usually can, actually. The only exceptions would be things like little kiosks or bakeries or things like that. And at restaurants, it's often not possible at all, or there's often a minimum purchase requirement.
Number 4. Winters are too cold. The German winter is notoriously long, gray, and cold. The average daily temperature is around 0 degrees Celsius, which is 32 Fahrenheit. It's also rainier and windier because of the Atlantic Ocean and cold air masses from Russia. They also get these cold waves from Siberia where temperatures can plunge to minus 20 degrees Celsius, which is minus 4 or 5 Fahrenheit in much of Germany. The summers are nice and it's a great time to visit Germany. From mid-May to September, you might actually forget how bad the winter was. December is one of the coldest months in Germany with chances of snow relatively good, like every single day, and temperatures get below freezing for most of the month. My uncle was stationed in Germany for about 6 years, I believe, and he said he'd never seen winters like that. Just bone-chilling, where your bones ache.
Okay, this is actually pretty far away from the truth. Germany is not known for amazing weather, obviously, and it does rain a lot, but I've lived in Germany for 22 years of my life, and what he just described is not what our winters are like. In Munich, which is like an hour away from the Alps, we definitely did have winters with a lot of snow when I was a kid, but it's really becoming less every single year. In the past few years, the winters there have actually almost always been exactly the same as here in Cincinnati. So if you know what Cincinnati winters are like, you know what it's like in Munich. In January 2019, Munich actually had a lot of snow, so much that trees collapsed and streets were closed and stuff like that. But then this past winter, they actually had no snow at all. And snow almost every single day in December. I mean, I wish. We haven't had a white Christmas in Munich in years. I don't honestly even remember the last time we did. It's usually been really warm on Christmas these past few years. Regarding the numbers that Brix mentioned, the average temperature in the winter in Germany is definitely not 32 degrees Fahrenheit. Not sure where he got that number from. The real number is 4.1 degrees Celsius, which equals about 39 degrees Fahrenheit. That's actually about the same average winter temperature as in Tennessee, for example. In Ohio, the average winter temperature is 30 degrees Fahrenheit, so much colder. And yes, I actually have experienced temperatures of as cold as minus 4 degrees Fahrenheit in Munich, but that was maybe like twice in my life, and I have experienced that in the US too. So it seems like Brix's uncle must have lived in Germany decades ago, and apparently in a region that's especially cold, and I would assume that he's probably from a warmer region in the US, not sure.
Number 3. Air conditioning. Germans are very environmentally conscious and would shy away from using an appliance that uses so much electricity. Less than 10% of all European households have air conditioning. That's compared to 90% in the United States. Yep, that's it. It's official. I will never live in Germany. I love air conditioning like a sailor loves his rum. I've actually caught myself wanting to write epic poems about my air conditioning during hot summer days. European air conditioners are already among the world's most efficient, and these people still won't use them. Meanwhile, Meanwhile, at my house, I'm looking for AC that uses more power. I find it hard to communicate properly in hot weather. I don't know what that is. I need it cool. I can never live in Germany during the summer. Air conditioners' energy consumption was among the reasons cited when German officials rejected proposals to install cooling systems in the schools.
Okay, so this is true. We usually don't have air conditioning in our houses. If you'd like to know more about this topic, you should check out my video on 6 things that the US can learn from Germany, because I actually talked quite a lot about air conditioning and windows in that video. And to Germans, it's not just that air conditioning needs a lot of power, we also just don't like it as much for some reason. Sometimes it definitely can be exhausting in the summer without air conditioning, but German summers aren't as hot and as long anyways. It's usually only hot for like a few weeks. Also, our houses are usually built out of bricks, which means that they're insulated a lot better, which means that they don't heat up as quickly in the summer. And also what we do is that we open our windows a lot at night when it's cooler and just let the cool air inside. But yeah, if you need air conditioning in your life, Germany or Europe in general is definitely not the right place to move to.
Number 2, everything's closed on Sundays. Sundays are a day of rest for Germans, and most shops you'll find are closed. Doesn't have anything to do with religion, it's more of a tradition. There's a law which restricts loud noises such as vacuuming, drilling, slapping each other around, or playing loud music, even in your own home, on Sundays, especially between the hours of 1 p.m. and 3 p.m. and 10 p.m. and 7 a.m. Play your stuff too loud then, or get weird, you're gonna get a visit from the man. Now this holds true for tourists and hotels. Don't be loud on Sundays. Other than shops that are like in gas stations, train stations, and airports, most shops are closed on Sundays. There's a store closing law that was put into place in 1956, making it a legal requirement for people to have Sundays off. They aren't big on overworking in Germany, which is good if you're a resident. Kind of sucks if you're a tourist, looking for something on a Sunday.
Okay, so this is true. Most stores are closed on Sundays, but places like restaurants and movie theaters and those kind of places are open. And it definitely did have religious reasons originally, not so much nowadays, so that's true. It's not like Germans need that day off to all go to church on Sunday. That's not really what a lot of Germans do. I agree that it can be very inconvenient, especially if you're used to the circumstances here in the US or other countries where you can always go shopping. And it does require some planning for sure, but on the other hand, it can also be really nice because it can be a day where you just spend some time with friends and family, because the vast majority of all people in Germany won't have to work that day. What he said about the law that you can't be loud on Sundays, that's actually true for the whole day on Sunday and also any other holiday. And what he said about the night thing, that you can't be loud from 10 p.m. to 7 a.m., or I think it's actually 6 a.m., that's actually true for every single day, not just Sunday. So I guess it's even more extreme than what he said. Here we go, number 1.
And number 1. Nazis are still around. Germany still has Nazis. This time around, they're not paid by the government, so that's a good thing. More than 4,000 attacks on foreigners have occurred since 2015. Some with Molotov cocktails. It's always nice. I read about these weird 1940s books that may have helped give rise to this type of mentality. The books say mothers need to ignore their baby's emotional needs. Now, here's where it gets weird. Johanna Harrer, I believe that's her name, a physician whose books were written during the Nazi era, urged women to distance themselves from their young children. Here in the States, we don't do that until they're like 30 and don't have a job. The books have reached nearly biblical status in some nursery schools and child care centers over the years. The Domestic Intelligence Service estimates that there were 12,700 violent right-wing extremists in the country in 2017. Yeah, so that's not a good thing for Germany. Keep that in mind if you're going to visit or move there. But I just found that whole avoiding your kid's emotional need thing is weird.
I agree. That is weird. But okay. There was a lot in there, so where should I start? So it's true that there have been a lot of attacks on foreigners, especially since the refugee crisis in 2015, but also before that. But fortunately, the majority of all Germans does not identify with that at all. So it's really not like you go to Germany and the first thing you'll see are Nazis. Yes, there are neo-Nazis in Germany, and there is a political party called NDP that has a lot in common with the original Nazi party, NSDAP. but it's very small and it's not represented in any of the state parliaments in Germany or in the federal parliament. In the early 2000s, there was actually a murder series in Germany conducted by a Nazi group called NSU, National Socialist Underground. The trial was very prominent in the German media and I think in international media too, so maybe you've heard about it. But unfortunately, there are neo-Nazis in almost all European countries and in the US as well. Now, the book that Brix mentioned is definitely not used in German nurseries or childcare centers anymore. He said the books have reached biblical status or something like that. Well, that was during the Third Reich and post-World War II, but that was like over 60 years ago. Those books haven't really been around since like the 70s or 80s, the latest. And I personally had never heard of the book that he mentioned by Johanna Hara. I looked it up, of course, but yeah, it hasn't really been a thing since like the 70s. I'm sure neo-Nazis do read those books. I'm sure he's right about that, but neo-Nazis don't represent modern German culture at all. Now, what he said about over 12,000 violent right-wing extremists in Germany in 2017, that's actually true. However, that number refers to people who are ready to use violence, which means that not all of them actually have been violent. And I'm not saying that this isn't a problem for Germany. It definitely is, and so is the rise of another right-wing party, the AfD in Germany. But 12,000 out of 82 million is still a rather small number, and this definitely isn't something that you'll see at every street corner in Germany. So I'm not sure if I agree with his ranking here that this is really the #1 reason not to live in Germany, but to each their own.
Alright, so that's today's list. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you got some information out of it. You know, maybe you want to stay away from Germany. At least know what you're getting into before you go there. Anyway, don't forget all the links below. If you like what we do here, please subscribe. Give the video a big thumbs up if you liked it. Everybody have a great day. Be nice to each other.
Be nice to each other. Okay, so this was a rather long reaction video, but I hope you guys learned something, and who knows, maybe you agreed with him a lot more than you agreed with me, but I have to say that out of those 10 reasons not to live in Germany, I think I really only agree with 2 of them as valid reasons why I really think that would be a reason not to live in Germany. And that is the high taxes and the weather in Germany, even though his description of our winter was a little bit off, but truth is that the weather isn't the best in Germany. It does rain a lot, it's not very reliable, so I'm actually very glad that I got away from that. Other than that, I'd say that maybe air conditioning would be a valid point, but I personally really only miss that at very hot days in Germany and whenever I want to work out at home. And when you're used to how convenient everything is in the US, it's definitely annoying that stores are closed on Sundays in Germany, and also the normal store hours are a lot shorter too. So what did you guys think? Would you still live in Germany or at least visit it, or did this video pretty much scare you off? Let me know in the comments below. And also give this video a thumbs up if you liked it, subscribe to my channel for free if you like what I do on here, activate the bell to get notifications for new video uploads, and follow me on Instagram. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope I'll see you next time. Tschüss!